So hello, I'm Daria Cybulska, and I'm a director of programs at Wikimedia UK, but today I'm talking about something slightly different. I did a fellowship last year at the Storytelling Institute in a University Arts London project, and it's a little bit of a provocation. I just hope you'll find it interesting. It's about information literacy of conspiracy theories. Firstly, let me share with you how I started thinking about this. If you think back to the coronavirus pandemic, I think there was a lot of misinformation, and a lot of us probably had an experience of like people in our networks that got quite involved with conspiracy theories, and this happened to me as well. I had somebody quite close to me that went very, very deep into those stories, and it was very interesting tension with my experience of Wikipedia and information and their experience. But what was especially stressful is just the volume of research facts that this person was flooding me with. It was overwhelming. I couldn't really do anything about it. But it wasn't so much even the volume of it, or that I couldn't like win an argument. I wasn't even trying. It's just that when he was describing his approach to research, it sounded very similar to what I teach or my team teaches when we teach information literacy skills for Wikipedia. This is things he would say, that you have to check your sources, you have to question, don't immediately trust the information that you see, like think about, don't be a passive consumer of knowledge. This is exactly what we say at Wikimedia UK, be an active producer of knowledge, not passive consumer. He would say exactly the same. And that was very confusing to me and just a scary similarity. But it wasn't just the similarity, it was also the fact that his approach emotionally was very interesting. So often, I think here we are like teaching a little bit different, but often when we teach information literacy for Wikipedia, it can be like a little bit dry, you know, all about information, intellect, and what he was talking about was often very exciting, very emotional. Maybe you had this experience with conspiracy theories, tells you like, oh my god, and did you know that this and this is like this? Like, okay, doesn't matter what it actually is, but my point is it's very exciting. It's kind of attractive, like emotional. So this is what my project was about. And reflecting about if, I know it's superficial, like that's why it's like a little bit of a provocation, but if on a surface level, the narrative between information literacy and conspiracy theories approach is the same, what can we learn about this? And what can educators learn from the dark side, especially like this interesting emotional level that people seem to do quite well? And let me tell you a little bit more about like the similarities that I found, because that I found really exciting. So like I said, there's similarity in like how the two sides, like I don't want to say like us and them, but let's say like educators and the conspiracy theorists, how they talk about approach to accessing information. So they would say like the stuff that I said already, kind of do your own research, question more, which is this like very exciting, like active approach to research, be a critical citizen, get to the bottom of things, all of this. And there is this institute in the UK called Ofcom, and they did research on what they call minority beliefs and people holding minority beliefs like conspiracy theories and how they approach research. And it said that people who engage with conspiracy theories often took care to assess information based on factors, for example, assessing like what platforms that they found information or who was communicating it. So there was like similarity and criticality of like where the information comes from, in a sense. There was also this similarity, like personal traits, like I said already, like this active approach, being a bit contrarian, critical, love for research in some way, desire to know the truth, whatever the truth is. So yes, and this like excitement of investigation and discovery, active participation in learning. And also, to be honest, there is also similarity in how, let's say, both camps approach the other side. Like, I think we often would talk about the conspiracy theorists, like, you know, it's like crazy or like into rabbit holes, like crazy research. But people on the conspiratorial side can talk about the others as like sheeple, like sheep that just follow the kind of what is told to them. So both are quite dismissive of the other. Okay, and so in my project, like I already said, I arrived at thinking about what is the role of emotion in learning and how often conspiracy theories capture emotion in a way that's really engaging. Like there's the excitement of discovery, of knowing something, satisfaction, and so I think there's something for us to think about how we approach teaching. I often find that anti-misinformation approaches, like ways to try to debunk those theories, are like purely cognitive. They're just about thinking, and they don't include, for example, how emotionally it can be difficult to change your mind or to accept that you were wrong before, or maybe shame of leaving one camp of thought to the other. Like the emotions actually play a really important role in learning. And I think for us, this is really important, especially when we think about the knowledge equity and complexity of how there is, how you can know things in a lot of different ways. And knowledge equity, I think, is about ambiguity, maybe context, it's complex, and this, engaging with knowledge like this, in my opinion, can be a bit stressful and anxiety-provoking because it's not so stable. It's not like, okay, it's like this and you know where you are. It's actually more fluid, and that can be stressful. My point is that in education or in like teaching about knowledge equity and information literacy, we need to include this, otherwise people get too stressed out and maybe they go to find easy answers and easy solutions just to relieve themselves of the stress of like being in this too fluid environment. Yeah, so exactly like this. I already said it, but I think it's quite important. Now, this is a complicated thought because I do think conspiracy theories are very harmful and a lot of them create real harm. But there is something else that's really harmful in dismissing the other side and how that creates more polarization. Like I only discovered this and started thinking about this similarity in narrative because I was trying to engage with somebody close to me. But if we completely dismiss and we don't want to learn about how people within conspiracies think, it creates more polarization, more disconnect, we don't learn about each other. And actually, this could be what the sources of conspiracies actually want to achieve, that we don't talk to each other, we don't understand each other. So I think it's important to try and not be dismissive and try to understand each other better. All of those images I've been showing you is actually, oh yeah, and this is very hard, like including this emotion in teaching is like one extra thing that we have to think about, so I'm not saying it's easy, I guess I'm saying it's impossible, that we have to include it, otherwise things will go wrong. And all of the images that I've been showing you, I did the research, but I also did a storytelling project, a graphic novel about different approaches to teaching and what happens when you approach things from a purely intellectual perspective or purely emotional. I had an amazing artist who drew this, although I wrote the story, so this is all the illustrations that you've been seeing. So there's like one teacher that was very only purely information, armadillo, and another who is like TED Talk style, like really flashy, like, oh my god, let's explore knowledge together. And he was telling his students to do this, Yeah, this is like TED Talk, like let's deconstruct assumptions together. So he teaches them like this, but actually the students take his advice, get too excited, and get really lost in like the misinformation ecosystem, to the point where they decide that they don't really need school anymore, they can learn by themselves, and there's a revolt. they abandon school, and the teachers get really depressed because they don't know what to do anymore. Although in the end, there is like I was really struggling, but in the end I decided for a positive conclusion. They come back and they try to work together. So that's the graphic novel story of this. I have a few of the research booklets printed. I left them at the back so you can grab a few. I haven't tried this code for quite a while. Maybe somebody can tell me. It should bring you to like a page. Does it work? Aha. So you will access the research and like actually the comic as well from this. And that's all I wanted to share. I think maybe I have like a minute left for some questions or reactions. I'm really curious what you make of this. Like I said, it was just an interesting thought to add to thinking how we teach information literacy. Okay, thank you. So we have another mic. Yes.
I can ask
you. Can shout maybe.
Yeah. But like my question to you is like you're dividing the odds versus trend.
Well,
like teachers versus conspiracy theories, right? What do you do when the teacher is actually the one that like supports conspiracy theories? Because there's not a lot of theory, and it's like an interesting problem.
Yeah, I think there's many problems, especially like what I was really trying to avoid is actually like the two camps. But in the end, it's really hard to explain what I'm talking about without like the us in them. So I think there's many problems with this. It's just to make us. It's just to make us think about conspiracy theories. But yeah, a teacher who teaches misinformation, I don't even know how to fix that. That's a big problem. Yeah.
Hi, thank you, Daria. I found really interesting the comparison between how Wikimedia think around information and how conspiracy theory think. And I found a difference. Maybe I want to know your position about this. It's the trust in like hegemonic media or authority. Like sometimes we put sources like they might be sources that are trustworthy, but conspiracy theories lost the trust in the media and academic produce information, right? So what do you think about where does it comes from, that untrustworthiness? And how can we make more trustworthy these procedures of creating knowledge and institutions that, like Wikipedia, come around information and knowledge?
So the way I understand your question, like how can we create more trust in the information ecosystem, like especially the ones we think is trustworthy? Oh my God, I don't know. I think it's really deep. Like the mistrust runs so deep, and like the structure of thinking of some conspiracy is so like complex, and like the whole system. I'm not even sure, but it's what I think. What I was thinking is like, okay, what we can learn from this, or like where not to change the minds of conspiracies, but what we can learn from this mistrust, maybe for how we communicate information, and also just learn from what's again like what they do right, which is the use of emotion, for example. So I was more focusing on this, like to change the mind and like to change like a whole system's thinking of like trust, shifting the trust into information ecosystem. My God, it's a huge project. Yes.
I have a question. Oh no. Then I.
At large. Okay, thank you.